The MS Pilsudski was a beautiful ocean liner from Poland. Her beautiful smokestacks, king posts, and masts proudly indicated that she was part of the Gdynia-America Line. She was one of the most luxurious ships of her time. At the outbreak of World War II, she would be pulled from service to help with the war effort. The Pilsudski would be modified to become a transport ship to carry both troops and supplies to help aid for the war. Her proud history came to a sudden end in 1939. The ship's ending was both tragic and unnecessary. Sound familiar? Yes, there were some news outlets at the time that actually referred to the Pilsudski as Poland's Titanic. This beautiful ship would be named after Joseph Pilsudski, who was known as the first Marshal of Poland. The order was given and the ship's keel would be laid down in 1933. The MS Pilsudski was built at the CRDA shipyards, located in Monfalcone, Italy. This yard number was 1126. She was ordered by the Polish Transatlantic Shipping Company Limited Line, or PTTO. In 1934, the line would become the Gdynia-America Line. This line would also produce the Pilsudski sister ship, the MS Batory. Her home port would be in Gdynia, Poland. The MS Pilsudski would be launched on December 19, 1934. After the fitting out of the ship, her maiden voyage would be on September 15, 1935. She would travel from Gdynia, Poland to New York. The Pilsudski had 7 decks. She also had an indoor swimming pool, which was a first for the ships from Poland. The ship would be adorned with a decorative shield at the point of her bow. This would represent Joseph Pilsudski and his brigade while serving in World War I. She could accommodate up to 773 passengers as well as 350 crew members. The Pilsudski also was equipped with a garage that could accommodate up to 18 passenger vehicles. The ship's call sign would be SPED. She would be 531 feet long. Her beam would be 71 feet. She would be registered at 14,294 gross tons. She would be propelled by 2 diesel engines that drove a twin-screw propeller system. Her speed would be 18 knots, and her captain would be Mamert Stankwitz. On her second voyage, design flaws were exposing the ship's weaknesses, which occurred during a storm. These flaws were discovered in time to correct the design, which we applied to her sister ship, the MS Batory. The MS Pilsudski would make 10 voyages yearly, each transatlantic voyage lasting 3.5 weeks to complete. In 1939, the MS Pilsudski would be taken from service to aid in the war effort during World War II. The ship would be painted gray, and her crew would be trained in a way to provide transport to military personnel. Her luxury items would be removed during the transformation, and she would sink on November 26 of 1939. The incident took place in the early morning hours pre-dawn. The ship would be leaving Newcastle, headed for New Zealand, when explosions would rock the vessel. The explosions would be on the port side of the ship, and almost immediately the Pilsudski would begin to list to port. Fearing that the ship would sink quickly, the order to abandon ship was given. The ship would eventually take over 4 hours to sink, and instead of trying to save the ocean liner, the order was given to abandon ship. The beautiful ship would sink, and speculation on what would sink her would circulate in the local news. Initial reports would indicate that she would be torpedoed, but this theory was not backed up by German sources, so the speculation persisted. It was later reported that the ship most likely struck a German mine. Sadly, the Pilsudski's captain, Mamert Stankwitz, would eventually be rescued, but would later die of exhaustion and hypothermia. He would be the last man to leave the ship. Today, the MS Pilsudski proudly sits upright in 112 feet of water off the Yorkshire coast.